A palindrome is a word or a phrase that is the same forwards or backwards. Example, Anna backwards is still Anna. And also note that race car, if you flip it around, it's still race car. So I want you to write a function that checks if a word or phrase is a palindrome, and then write some tests for your function. Alright, so here is the solution to the palindrome that I came up with. So let's do function. I'm just going to call it pal, and it's going to take a word, and then we're just going to return true, okay, if it's a palindrome. Alright, so remember palindrome is the word same forwards and backwards. It's spelled the same. So we need to check if the word is a palindrome. Alright, so that means if statement, and then we're going to do word equals, and then word, and then this is going to be the reverse, right? So I'm just putting some notes in here while I'm writing things out, and this actually needs to go in here. All right. Okay, so first thing we need to do is, so this one is a piece of cake because it's just, that's forwards, right? But we need to make this go backwards. So what we're going to do is we're going to manipulate this a little bit. So let's do let's call this rev word, okay, equals, and then we're going to manipulate this a little bit. So in order to reverse this, so there is a reverse method, but it's on arrays. So first we need to take this word, and we need to split it up into an array, reverse it, and then put it back together. So I'm going to write that down. So split word to array, and then reverse array, and then join array. Okay, and these are actually the keywords that we're going to be using. So there's a split method, there's a join reverse method, and there's a join method, and then we're going to end up with that. So it's very good to put out your steps here as you're doing things, because then sometimes the interviewer gets a little chatty, and then they stop you and start talking about stuff, but at least you'll have your steps in here so you'll know what you have to do next. So let's do let's call this split word equals to word dot split, and then we're going to split it by nothing, so it's just going to split at every character there, okay? And then we're going to do reverse array, so split word dot reverse, okay, and then we're going to join it back together. So split word dot join, and then we need the separator also. Okay, so at this point, split word, I actually don't need this. Split word is now reversed. Okay, so we can just use split word here. You can remove that comment there, and there we go. So now word is going to equal whatever word is, and then split word is going to equal the reverse. Okay. All right. So this is pretty much satisfies the basic of the request, but let's go ahead and write some tests and see if we're covering everything. So I'm gonna put pal there, and then do that, and let's see. All right, so let's do, I'm not going to use real words here, so I'm just going to use ABA. So ABA, so based on my function here, word is going to be ABA because it's just going to give you back, it's just going to use the original word, and then this one is going to give me ABA because what we did was, if you want a detailed explanation, first it's ABA, and then it turns into an array of A, B, and A, and actually, so there's a mistake there. This is not a string. This needs to be a string. So let's fix that, because they will be like, if you run this, what's going to happen? Well, it's going to fail because it's not a string. It's all right. So ABA. So this is going to reverse, which is going to still make A, B, and A. Okay, and then at the end, it's going to join back and give us ABA. Okay, so this is what's happening. So if they ask you to walk through what's happening, so split word is originally ABA, and then this one is actually not necessary. And then when we do the split, it's going to do this. When we do the reverse, it's going to do this part. When we do the join, it's going to go back to this and not be an array anymore. Okay. All right. So ABA, looks like ABA will pass. What if I do something like this? I do A, B, B, A, like that. So what's going to happen? So I have A, B, B, A, and then this is going to be A, B, B, A, like that. So right off the bat, is that going to equal each other? That is not, because casing, right? And actually this should be this. So because of casing, this is going to fail. So let me put the rest of this in here so you can just see, for example, because you never know, they might ask. Usually they only ask once, but you never know. So all right, so you can see that it does this, and then it turns into that, and that's how it becomes that. So we need to do something to this to make it ignore the casing. So the easiest way to do this is just to do lowercase. You can do uppercase if you want. It's totally up to you. So word.to lowercase and to uppercase. Oops, not uppercase. You have to do the same, to lowercase. Alright, so now we have an additional step here. So this, and then this is going to turn into ABBA, right? And then same thing here, this is going to turn into ABBA. So it's good to put it in the right order also. So this word is only going to have the lowercase at this point, and then this reversed, we're going to do all this split, join, reverse, and then we're going to lowercase it. All right. So at this point, now this is going to equal this. So that will now pass. All right. And then they're going to ask you things like, what other tests are you going to do? So you can do like one, you can do true, you can do an object, name. Right. So obviously these three things here are going to fail because you can't. These string methods are going to fail on things that are not strings. And then let's do one more case here. So palindromes can also be things that are multi-words. So A, B, B, A. Oops, keep on forgetting to wrap my strings. So A, B, B, A. This would be a palindrome because if you flip it around, it would still be A, B, B, A. But there could be things like this, right? So A, this is still a palindrome because if you spell it backwards, it's still A, B, 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 A. But what we need to do is we need to ignore that space in between. So in order to do that, you can just kind of use pseudocode here if you want. You can just say, let's see, you can do replace spaces with an empty string like that, right? Or if you know how to do it, then you can just do it. So replace, and then remember it takes the first thing is that it's the search value, and then the second thing is what you're replacing it with. So you would just be replacing it with the empty string. So we haven't covered this particular thing on how to do this in the previous lessons, but I'll just show you here. So there's a thing called regex, regular expressions, that you can use. So this right here is the regex for a space. So basically this would search for space, and then remember you have to do the /G to make sure that it goes for multiple things. So if I had like another one of these that was like A, if you didn't put the /G, it would only remove the first space. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. Copy and paste, and now that would remove that. So let's see where this would go. This would basically go here, right? So let's do our new example. Copy. So this would be like this, and then this would turn into a BBBA. Okay, let's do that. So this would be A, B, excuse me. Let's see. A, B space, B, B, A, and this would be A, B space, and looks like there just needs to be another B here. Oops. Okay, so that would be backwards, and then what you would get was A, B, B space, B, A, but then we just need to get rid of all those spaces, so A, B, B, A. A, B, 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 A. Alright, cool. So this is how you would explain that one. Alright? Okay, so since this is pretty much done to like a pretty acceptable point, I'm just going to go ahead and let's go ahead and actually run it. Because we're done. We're at home right now, and we're like, I wonder if I did this correctly, so I'm gonna just check this out. So let's copy this one, and okay, so it looks like we got an error, but that's okay. If the interviewer notices that you have an error, then they're gonna ask you to see if you understand why there's an error. So it says split word to lowercase is not a function, so that is down here. So it looks like all of this didn't have an error, this didn't have an error, it's just when we got to this part it says split word to lowercase is not a function. So I know what the error is, but let's go ahead and just figure out what's going on here. So I know the error is somewhere in here because this is where where the actual error output, but the problem is before there. So let's just do a console.log, and then let's just do word. Okay, and I'm going to copy this here, and we're just gonna, let's refresh. Okay, so I'm going to do let word equals blah, because I need to give a value for word since we're not using the function, we're just doing it outside, and then I'm going to do that, and oops. Let's do that again. Let word equals blah, oops, blah, and this one actually needs to be split word. So let's see what split word is. So there is the cause of our problem, right? So let's see. So we have, looks like word.split worked and split word.reverse worked. Okay, but the join didn't work. So let's go ahead and fix this. What we need to do is, let's grab the split word equals, and we need to put it in front of here so that way it persists, and then this needs to be split word. Okay, alright, so let's try this again. Copy and paste, and we forgot to define word, so let word equals blah, paste, and there we go. So now you can see it's showing up correctly. So that's fine if you have an error. Like I said, the interviewer might point it out to you that you have an error and ask you how to fix it or why it's an error, and that's perfectly fine. Okay, so let's go back to this. So copy, paste, and then let's put our first one in there. Should work now. There we go. So true. Let's put our second one in there. True. This should give us false. That's actually not going to give us false because it's an error. And that's an error. This one should be error also. Awesome. And then let's try this one. So this is going to test our regex. So true. And finally the last one. And true. Alright. So there you go. So this is my version of it. Yours might look a little bit different. But yeah, feel free to play around with this, and good job.